Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. We're going to be looking at something absolutely fascinating today, a truly shocking financial alignment between two fierce, high-profile political rivals, Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi. Now, we're going to look strictly at the data here, completely bypassing the political noise to show you exactly how to track their financial moves. Because, when you strip away all those partisan debates and look purely at the public financial disclosures, a really fascinating pattern emerges.
Section 1. Il segreto di Washington, or the ultimate political paradox. So on the public stage, the animosity between these two is literally legendary. I mean, Donald Trump has publicly called Nancy Pelosi evil, and Pelosi has famously stated she'd rather see him wearing an orange jumpsuit than sitting in the White House. But behind closed doors, they are actually financial allies. It's wild. Despite their massive public differences, their financial disclosures reveal a shared strategy, a strategy built on understanding exactly how Washington policies move the financial markets. And that sets up our Follow the Money investigation perfectly.
Section 2. Perché monitorare I politici? The financial edge.
To truly understand how political investments work, we really have to look at the mechanics of their wealth. For these megacorporations, government policy is just as important as the product they sell. Seriously, things like regulation, tariffs, and government contracts, they can make or break a business overnight. Just take a look at this absolutely staggering figure, 16,900%. That's the estimated return Nancy Pelosi has seen, turning a 37-year career in politics into a reported $130 million fortune. Think about that. That's 169 times her money. And her portfolio isn't just stocks either. It impressively includes a $25 million vineyard, 6 commercial properties, and even partnerships in an Italian restaurant and the United Football League. Now, on the other side of the aisle, Donald Trump certainly hasn't missed out on the markets either. Get this, 20,000. That number represents his massive volume of stock trades last year alone. In fact, he reported over $2 billion in income last year. That includes a massive $1.2 billion from cryptocurrency, alongside advertising payments from companies like MyPillow and Google. It just goes to show that despite being constantly in the political spotlight, he remains highly active and engaged in the financial markets.
Section 3. Regole degli investimenti politici, are navigating the loophole.
Now, what's really interesting here is that there are regulatory rules that theoretically govern these trades, right? But practically speaking, they leave a fantastic breadcrumb trail for us to follow. On the congressional side, we have the Stock Act. Basically, this law requires members of Congress to report their stock transactions within 45 days of the trade. Because of this built-in 45-day delay, we as the public never actually know exactly what they hold right this very second. But when we see large multi-million-dollar purchases pop up in these disclosures, well, it strongly indicates that these politicians are settling in for long-term holds. Another key strategy revealed in these disclosures is the use of call options, and Pelosi relies heavily on this approach. Instead of just buying shares outright, she frequently purchases deep-in-the-money call option contracts, with strike prices way below the stock's current valuation. Think of it kind of like putting down a small deposit to control a massive amount of stock. This clever move allows her to get massive leverage and incredible upside potential, all without having to lay out the full cash to buy the stock outright.
Section 4. Come tracciare I trader. Finding the secret data, and exactly why we monitor secret political traders.
So you might be wondering why monitor these secret political traders. Well, because putting in the effort pays off immensely. Granted, it does mean maybe skipping Netflix on a Friday night and digging through some incredibly dense government filings instead. It's a tedious process, for sure, but here is exactly how you do it. Step 1. You search the House of Representatives clerk website for Congress members' trades. Then, for the president, you have to comb through the annual U.S. Office of Government Ethics disclosures. And fair warning here, these are massive documents. I mean, somehow they are literally longer than the terms and conditions on your iPhone. Step 2. To make your life just slightly easier, you can cross-reference these findings with databases laid out by ProPublica. Section 5. I 10 titoli condivisi, following the money and how investors track these 10 shared stocks. Let's move to the data and see how this all builds. By putting in that research time, this is exactly how everyday investors track these 10 specific stocks that both Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi are actively buying. To make it clear, we've logically grouped these shared investments by the massive government policies that drive their underlying value. First up, we have the regulated innovators. Take Tempest AI, for example. They use AI to analyze clinical data, meaning their entire future relies heavily on FDA oversight, HIPAA privacy rules, and Medicare funding.
Well, Pelosi added 5,000 shares via January 2026 calls, and Trump bought between $15,000 and $50,000 worth back in May. Then there's Vistra, a major power producer that's absolutely vital for those energy-hungry AI data centers. They desperately need government permits and infrastructure approvals. Here, Pelosi grabbed 5,000 shares while Trump executed 10 transactions. Finally, Uber. Uber's constantly fighting driver classification labor laws and navigating autonomous robotaxi regulations, right? Well, Pelosi's husband bought 200 call options expiring in March 2027, and Trump has made 19 trades worth up to $5 million.
Next up, we've got the national security chips. Now, Intel is a massive standout here because the federal government just poured a historic $9 billion investment into it, which essentially gives the government 10% ownership. Pelosi holds 200 deep in-the-money calls here, while Trump actively bought in the $50,000 to $100,000 range. Then we have Broadcom, which completely dominates AI infrastructure and relies heavily on tax incentives and export rules. Pelosi holds 20,000 shares, and Trump made 15 trades. Palo Alto Networks actively relies on federal defense contracts and actually received early access to Anthropic's Mythos AI model. For this one, Pelosi holds 14,000 shares and Trump executed 12 trades. Lastly, there's Nvidia. Sitting right at the center of the US-China tech war, Nvidia gives 15% of its chip sale revenue directly to the US government for export licenses. Pelosi holds 5,000 shares and Trump reported 18 trades, with some of those being well over $1 million. Finally, let's look at the big tech monopolies. Alphabet, Google's parent company, is currently facing massive Department of Justice antitrust lawsuits, all while its Waymo division awaits autonomous vehicle approvals. Pelosi bought 5,000 shares, and Trump reported 20 active trades. Apple recently got hit with a €700 million monopoly fine in the EU, which actually prompted Trump to threaten a 100% tariff on countries imposing tech taxes. Yet, Pelosi holds 20 deep in-the-money calls expiring in 2027, while Trump made 16 trades worth up to $5 million. And then there's Amazon. Guys, this is fascinating. Despite Trump's very public feud with the Washington Post and Pelosi's public stances against big tech, Amazon's AWS handles massive government cloud contracts, and their private money tells a totally different story. Pelosi has steadily built her position to 70 total call options, and Trump has executed 26 trades up to $5 million.
Section 6. Il peso delle politiche. Policy is product.
So the crucial point is this. For these massive market-moving companies, policy literally is the product. Having powerful policymakers actually invested in your success. Policymakers who ultimately support technological innovation over heavy, crippling regulation, it completely dictates your bottom line. Whether we're talking subsidies, export licenses, or antitrust rulings, Washington's decisions make a gigantic difference in market valuation. And as our source material perfectly points out, the best investments aren't hidden. You just need to know where to look. Honestly, this is the ultimate takeaway of our explainer today. The most valuable market catalyst isn't some insider tech secret being whispered in Silicon Valley. No way. It's buried right there in plain sight within public government filings, showing exactly where bitter political rivals are putting their own money. Looking at this incredible overlap, it really forces you to view public disclosures in a completely new light, doesn't it? The sheer alignment of financial interests across the political divide is just staggering. So I want you to reflect on the data we just walked through together. Which of these 10 shared investments shocked you the most? Was it the heavily regulated healthcare AI, or maybe the massive tech monopolies? Keep tracking these public disclosures, keep following the money, and as always, stay curious. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.